broadcasting out to YouTube, to Facebook, and to Twitter. So if you're out there, you've got a question about immigration, now's the time to come and join me today. All right, guys, I'm Mark Holthe. I am a Canadian immigration lawyer. I'm an ex-immigration officer and a former high school teacher. And I take all of those different past lives and pull them all together to bring this live Q&A to all of you. If you're a first timer, today, all you have to do is in the comments, post your question, keep it short, make sure it's general. If it's specific, I'm gonna do that, which basically means that's legal advice. So keep it general, and I look forward to having you really create the substance of this video today. So we'll wait a few seconds for all of the amazing people to join in. There's been a few changes that I do want to tell you guys about. One of them is that I have decided I'm going to take questions from listeners in advance again. And the way you're going to be able to do that, we'll flip over here to this scene, is on our website. We have our resource section right here, and that resource section is going to be where we're going to have a little button where you can actually post your question. So it's going to be set up, so watch for it. And once it's set up, then you'll be able to leave your question in advance, and then throughout the video, I will pull in those questions that are really posted by people who are unable to attend live. So I'm hopeful that that's going to be a really positive development. And so we'll just have to see how it all plays out. All right, so now if we flip back here, let's just see who's tuning in. All right, okay, and I'm actually going to shift my screen over here. I'm slowly figuring out how to do these things, but it has been a little bit challenging. So, hey, Hannah, you are not a poor person. You may be poor in spirit, but hang in there, things will get better. Okay, Jagmeet, I haven't seen anything today yet. So let's go take a look and see what's going on with the draw today. So we'll flip over here and let's just open it up. And those of you who are wondering, we're going to go to the rounds of invitations. And what the question here relates to whether or not there is a draw today. So if we look here right now, as of 10:05 a.m. Mountain Time, they've talked about there's some changes. Yes, there are some changes, and I'll get to that. So if we scroll down here, you can see October the 14th was the last draw. And who knows, maybe they'll update it while we're talking right today, which has happened before where we've looked on it and then they made the change right after. So we'll watch it. But the last one was October the 14th. It's the 28th today, so 2 weeks later, entirely possible. Now let's take a look here. One other thing, you can see 12/11/23 UTC was September the 1st. That was the tiebreaker before. And then here, the date and round and time of the round was at basically 13:03 UTC. So we'll just have to see what happens. This should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. All right, so let's tune back in here. And so there's the answer to yours, Jagmeet, about the draw. Hello, Vimal from Nepal. And guys, post where you're listening from. I love to see all over the world where people are tuning in from. That's what really gets me going. All right, Sabia, I'm doing great, and I hope you're doing well all the way over in Islamabad. Great to have you connecting. And Vimal, yes, we did get a shout out to you already. Okay, here's a good question. Wajd is already asking a really good question. I want to apply for a study permit. Do I have to mention that I applied for EE? If it asks in the form, have you applied to immigration before? Absolutely, you need to. It's not a secret. They're going to be able to see if you've submitted an application. And in fact, they can even see if you've submitted a profile. So be advised. Okay. Gautam says, how old the funds need to be for PR in this SIMP? Gautam, it's specifically listed within the checklist for the SIMP. Now, I'm assuming, I'm not sure if you've got the your nomination yet, or if you're just applying. to go through one of the express entry streams. But traditionally, the funds need to be in there for at least 3 months. Now, it depends upon, like I said, the programs change all the time, but they usually like to see that it's at least that. But I'll tell you, do you know what, guys? I actually don't base it on that. I go with 6. That's what I go with. All right, let's jump around just a little bit more. Let's see here. Marianne says, hello, Sir Mark. Awesome. I'm doing great, Gerline. Okay, and Hannah says she's got some concerns related to the travel history. This is one of the questions I get more probably than any other. Well, why do I keep saying that? I get a lot of questions about every aspect of express entry. And I'll let you guys in on a little secret here before I get to Hannah's comment. The secret is, and I'm going to flip over here to our site, and I'm going to go specifically to our consultations. We listen to you guys, and I also listen to myself. And what I mean by that is when I am trying to figure out what I'm going to do as an immigration lawyer, I have thought long and hard about where my passion is and what I love most. And I've also spoken with the other lawyers in our firm, Susan and Alicia. And so when you go to our firm and you go to the book a consult page, you'll see things have changed. The first is many people were complaining that 25 minutes may not be enough. So we now have offered 50-minute consults, and each of us now has that availability. So we will do either 25 or 50 depending upon what you need. But you'll also see here that we have listed areas of focus. And for me, express entry is my passion. I love it. It's what I would love to do every single day. And in fact, probably about 70% of my practice now is dealing with express entry right here. So my areas of practice that I'm focusing on are express entry and corporate immigration. So work permits, things like that. But Alicia and Susan both still like to have a very, very broad reach, and they're highly experienced. Like I said, Susan she's been practicing for years. Alicia's been practicing for 2 years longer than I have, and they cover all of the other areas of practice. And so that you can see if your area relates to one of the areas of focus, then go ahead and book that consult with the individual lawyer that relates. But for me, I'm diving deep into express entry and anything corporate immigration related. And let's face it, I want to be the very, very best that I can be. And if there's someone who does H&C applications, someone who does rehabilitation for people that are criminally inadmissible, someone who does caregiver work, then I'm going to forward you to the lawyers that I know and trust that do a ton of those applications. And it's all about really focusing in on what you love and what you do best at. So that's why Holthe immigration law has shifted. And so when you book a consult and you say, hey, I've got a spousal sponsorship matter, or I want a temporary resident visa for my grandparents to come to Canada, then understand, guys, I'm going to be pushing you to go to Alicia and Susan, who are really, really the best positioned to help you with those things. Now, can I do it? Absolutely, I can. But I don't want to be just like every other lawyer. I want to be the very best. And that's why I personally will focus on the actual express entry and the corporate work primarily going forward. Okay, so there we go. Hannah says, thank you for the poor people in our lives. All right, let's jump back here to our comments again, and let's start diving down. Okay, let's see here. So back to Hannah. She says, I have some concerns related to travel history. Well, let me tell you guys how I deal with travel history. I don't have the ability to jump in and show you right in the express entry EAPR, but the way I treat travel is simply this. I never have both an address in a location over a certain period of time and the duplicate period of time listed in travel. So I never have duplicate entries where you're covering the same location in the same period of time, listing both your address and your travel. If an individual is traveling, that's one of the things that I see more than any other, is listing both of them at the same time. And for me, what I look at is why? Why did they ask for travel history? Well, one of the main reasons is that they want to know where you have been living, where you've been physically present every single day over the 10-year period that they're asking for. So that's why I never duplicate. And so if I have something listed as an address, every other trip outside of the place where I'm currently living, I call travel, even if it's back to your home country, which isn't 100% the way they've got it listed in the question, but this is the only way that I can see to feasibly do it to make sure that you're actually giving them what they want. All right. Excellent, excellent. Okay, I'm doing great, Togahan. Let's see who else we have here. All right. Curly, your hair looks perfect. That's hilarious. Oh boy, all kinds of people here, right? Yes, I'm keeping fantastically safe. Samrat, thank you for asking. And all of you people that are saying, hello, how are you doing? A big, massive shout out, and I'll give you one of these. Thanks for just tuning in and connecting, because that's what I love. All right, let's keep going here. Okay, Faraz says, hey, I've got an issue with my reference letter. I can't get the pay slips. Guys, pay slips are optional. So if you go to the personalized document checklist in your express entry application, it does say that, that you are to provide pay slips or pay stubs if available. So they're not mandatory. It's not going to fail if you don't have it. But they're just one part that can can really fill an important piece if you think an officer is going to have a hard time identifying and verifying your work history. So if the company you have doesn't have a website or no other easy way to verify that it exists, if there isn't LinkedIn pages for the company or some other presence in the public domain, then you're going to want to try to get everything you can get your hands on. If you don't have pay slips, then maybe you consider possibly using bank statements if there are automatic deposits into your bank account, or maybe you pay taxes. So there's a wide variety of things that you can do, but it is technically optional. All right, let's keep cruising down here. Okay, and this is Samita. I'll just touch yours quickly. Okay, so she's applied through Express Entry BC 3 months before, still did not get updated about medical cleared. Get used to it, my friend. Nothing goes fast these days. And so all those processing times that you see online, people are saying, I've got mine, throw it all out the window, because it does not make a difference. It will go as fast as it goes. And all I say to people, Samita, that are in your situation, be super grateful that you're in the queue, because you will have a definite opportunity to become a permanent resident, unlike many other people who simply may not. Okay, all right, we'll keep zipping through here. And this is another one, Abdi. Okay, in your opinion, when post-March 18th COPR will be allowed to travel? My personal opinion is when there's a vaccine, when there is something that creates safety for the world. Until that happens, I cannot see Canada opening the doors with respect to the travel restrictions. We are starting to see a little bit of a development, some pilots here in my province of Alberta, where they are doing testing and then shrinking down the time period for quarantining in Alberta if people are flying in or going through the Coutts port of entry, which is the port of entry between Alberta and Montana. But I can tell you that really for outland people who are overseas waiting to come, until those travel restrictions are lifted, I don't think anything's going to advance. And what's going to help to lift those travel restrictions, guys, it's really going to be a vaccine. So that is my opinion. You asked for it, and there it is. Okay, and like I said, all you people that are posting, hello, hello. All right, and okay. Okay, so here, Hannah, I'm just going to highlight yours because this is the same for everyone. And then I'm going to ring my bell. This gets in so specific that really you need to book a consult, okay? So when your question gets very, very specific like that, I have to push on. All right, so we've got, so tuning in from Adil from Saudi Arabia, haters in the Philippines. Hello to all you other guys. We got a KSA representation. Marianne is also in the Philippines. New Jersey. Nishit is in New Jersey. Excellent, guys. Oh, Scotland. Ali, great to have you connect in from Scotland. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so this individual, after an appeal win, does the application finish all of its processes in Canada, or does it have to go back outline for final processing? If this is a spousal, for example, It still has to go outside for final processing. All right. Okay. Ferris, boy, is a reference letter enough if the company's closed out? Well, I can tell you that it all comes down to that officer. And if there's enough evidence to show that the company existed, then, and there is still a mechanism of some form on your reference letter for the officer to contact the referee, your supervisor, in some form or fashion, then, then you've got a better chance. But there's no guarantees. There is no guarantees because the onus is on you to prove. And if an officer can't determine your work history, then they don't have to show you any mercy. And that's the tough part. All right. Okay, so Heider says, hey, is it mandatory here to have at least a 6-month-old bank account? We just opened a joint bank account and we'll be using for our funds. Will this pose any issues? I don't have any issues with that, guys. The reality is they want to see that the funds are actually yours, that you've saved the money. If it's a gift deed and you're getting it from a parent, then you may not need to have an account that's open for that length of time. But remember, guys, they say that they want you to provide all of your bank statements. They want to know all of your assets and liabilities. So unlike what you're hearing online from these other representatives, you don't just submit the bank statement that you think has the money sufficient to meet your proof of funds. You need to show them your whole picture, including credit card statements, which many people say, well, what are you talking about, Mark? Why do you have to do that? Well, let's go back and let's go to my favorite site, which is the completeness check site. So if you want to search it yourself at home, all you need to do is, we'll just close that off there. All you need to there is to go to this site right here, applications for permanent residence, subject to the express entry completeness check. This is where you go to check out your documents to make sure that what you have is correct. So if we are going back to that question and then we go to, let me just see here, just gonna flip this down for a second. Okay, so let's go down to, see if I can find it fast. There, proof of funds. Okay, so you can see here, it says she should provide an official letter for one or more financial institutions that lists all current bank and investment accounts, as well as outstanding debts, such as credit card debts and loans. So if you have an agent or someone who's working with you and they say, oh, you don't need to do it, fire them. Fire them and hire us because they are counseling you to misrepresent. It's as simple as that. And then you'll see here that it must be printed on the letterhead of the finance institution, include all of the account numbers, the date the account was opened, and the current balance of each account, as well as the average balance for the past 6 months. If the account has not been opened up for that long, well, then you're going to explain it. But I have to assume you're using other bank accounts. So that's really the issue that comes up when we're dealing with this type of a thing. All right, let's jump back here to our comments again. Cruising down. We'll give Amon a shout out. I'm really grateful that the Q&A sessions, you get benefit from them. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I love this. Okay, MM says, are you registered with the Canadian regulatory body, IRCC Regulatory? I forgot the name, to provide immigration advice. MM, hell no, I am not in any way, shape, or form associated with IRCC. It's the ICCRC regulatory body for immigration consultants, because I am not an immigration consultant. In fact, I am an immigration lawyer. Instead of a series of evening courses to get my qualifications to represent people, I went to law school. I spent 5 years getting my undergraduate degree, then another 3 years to get my law degree, and then I have focused my practice almost exclusively on immigration law. Who can represent someone for a fee? Canadian immigration lawyers. Consultants are also someone who can represent. But the biggest misconception perpetrated all throughout the world is that you have to be registered with that society, which right now is going through a bunch of turmoil. And you as a person have very little protection right now when you're hiring one of these consultants, because the association is a disaster. They're making steps, trying to improve things, great. But with the Law Society of Alberta, which I am a member of, if I do something and I screw up your application, steal your money, my goodness, I will become disbarred. You report me to the Law Society, it's lights out. All of the thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars I've spent getting my education, becoming a lawyer, focusing on immigration will be all out the door. And then I don't know what I'll do. I guess I would focus my time on our solar company that I have with my brother called 3B Energy. Anyway, so there you go. I love asking that question. And my question for you is, are you a consultant? Because usually it's the consultants that ask those questions. So let me know. But that's a good question and I appreciate it. And hopefully that clarified it. And if you want to go, you know what, we'll take one other step just because lots of people are really confused about this. So let's flip over again to the website and let's just take a look here and we'll go IRCC representative list. Let's see. Okay, find out if your representative is authorized. Great. Let's take a look here. Okay, so you can check if a person is licensed to represent immigrants or to give advice. And see right here, citizenship or immigration consultants must be a member of that ICCRC. Lawyers or notaries must be a member of a Canadian provincial or territorial society. So let's click on that one. Hey, there's the Law Society of Alberta. And then let's take a look here. Let's look for Holthe. Now I know I've got a cousin out there too, but let's just see what comes up. So we search and we've got two. Yes, we do. We've got my cousin Chase and we have myself right here, Mark. And why does Mark not have an actual location? It is because Mark practices virtually and I am not bound down by a particular city. I represent people globally. Chase, my good cousin, he practices with a large law firm in Calgary, where I actually started my career with one of those firms. I've been practicing since 2005. And you can see here, I actually list Portuguese as an additional language. Porque eu falo português. I speak Portuguese. So there you go. Hopefully that was helpful. I didn't mean to go down that little rabbit hole, but sometimes, boy, after all the time I've spent to become an immigration lawyer, sometimes I do get a little defensive. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, there you go. So there's the verification of Mark. Yes, he is authorized MM. And I'm curious to know the nexus for your question. All right. Okay, let's see here. All right, who's next? We've got a lot of questions. And like I said before, those of you who are just tuning in again, if you go back, I am going to open up, for those of you who are tuning in more recently here, if you go to Holthe Immigration Law, holthelaw.com, and you go to the resource section, it's not there yet, but we are going to be creating on our site right here a button, kind of like this, where you can post your question for an upcoming Q&A. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the time to intermittently pull out a question from the people who leave them, who are not able to attend live. Now, I used to do this before, but I've decided that I'm just going to shift back and really give people that aren't able to attend an opportunity to get their questions answered as well. Okay, but remember, there are tons and tons of people, so I'm not always able to get to everyone's question, but I do try to be as broad as I possibly can. Okay. Okay. Hello, does claiming points for jobs in multiple NOCs negatively affect my EAPR? Okay, well, that's a good question. Let's shift over once again. This time we're going to go to a new window. We'll move away from the Law Society and we're going to go FSW eligibility. That's probably the best. Federal Skilled Worker Program. We'll make sure I'm typing this in properly. That'll probably pull up something. There it is. Okay. So, and then we'll try to actually get to the right one. There, eligibility, there it is. Okay, so what I want to focus on for you guys is that when you're qualifying from outside of Canada, the critical aspect for you is that you meet the minimum entry criteria for this program, the Federal Skilled Worker Program, okay? Express Entry isn't actually a program. It's just the system that the government created to manage the other programs like the Federal Skilled Worker, like the Canadian Experience Class, and the Federal Skilled Trade Program. So if you go down here and you say, okay, do I need to have everything in the same NOC? The reality is no. There is a grid, a selection grid that many of you don't even know exists that determines whether or not you can actually submit your profile. And in the old days before Express Entry, if you were able to get into the pool, for express entry, then you would have eventually been able to become a permanent resident. It's just it would have taken 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes up to 7 years to get processed, and people were dying by the time they got their application approved. So the government adopted express entry as a way to handpick those with the highest human capital and give them the opportunity to apply for the federal skilled worker program. So you still have to meet the eligibility, and there's 67 points. And with this, when it's based on, you can see there's points for language, 28 points. There's points for a bunch of things, education, including work experience. And on the work experience front, you can see how the points are awarded. The key here is that the work experience has to all be in the same knock, only for the federal skilled worker program, not for all of the comprehensive ranking system for express entry, just for the eligibility. So with only 1 year and 9 points coupled together with points for all the other areas, education, language, age, if you then with only 1 year of work experience meet the 67 point threshold, then guys, you can use another knock to accumulate the rest of the points under the comprehensive ranking system. And it doesn't need to be continuous either. So you can have breaks as long as you first meet the 67 point threshold under the selection factors for the federal skilled worker program. Okay, so hopefully that one answered that question, and it's been a while since I've dived deep into that type of a question. Thank you for asking it. That's one of these ones I'm going to give because that was a great question. Okay. Seben says, hey, is travel restrictions for international students lifted? Well, Seben, I can tell you that in some cases, it largely depends upon the school. So some students are able to travel, provided the school has a plan in place, a quarantine plan. And the government, I'm not going to go searching for it, but the government has a list of the schools that have been approved with approved quarantine plans that are now making it easier for students to travel. But remember, it's not like the travel restrictions are completely lifted. Our government, the Canadian government, is only opening it up by cohort. So groups of people, they slowly expand it versus saying, okay, we're letting everybody in from Pakistan now because their cases of coronavirus are low. No, they don't do that. Instead, they say we're allowing in spouses of citizens and permanent residents. Then we're going to expand it to essential workers, things like that. Okay, hopefully that helped. All right. Okay, Mr. Khan. I always get this. Mark, give us a discount on the monthly subscription and DIY guide. I do not give a discount on the monthly subscriptions. The monthly subscription is already discounted at $97. And for those of you who are not sure what this is, my friend, I actually do give discounts. And so let me show you guys. So essentially, you go to the Canadian Immigration Institute, and once you're there, you type in the coupon code EEDIY50, and you will have the opportunity to get 50% off this full access to the course. Now, I'm going to point out something else because we're in the midst of pointing things out. So let's go back to the site. I'm going to show you something right here. In the express entry rounds of invitations, they identify something. And one of the things that they say is that there are changes. So recently, there has been a change where you can see here 4 French speakers. And if you watch the video I did late last night, just about midnight, I announced it. If you go to the bottom, you'll see that this was last updated just yesterday, October the 27th. That's because Francophone speaking, French language speaking individuals now have bonus marks. This used to be 15 points to have an NCLC 7 or a CLB 7. Used to get 15 points for that if you also had a CLB 4 or lower in English. And with an NCLC 7 for French and a CLB 5, now you can get up to 50 extra points, which is really, really going to make it easier for people that come from Francophone speaking countries, French speaking countries. All right. So this has been a huge change. And what does that mean? Well, it means that right here on my express entry do-it-yourself guide, I now have to update the course. I have to update, and this is what Igor and I are working on right now. Within this, if I log in, I'll show you guys something here. I think I can log in. Let's see if I'm lucky. Come on, let me in. Good, it did. here's what your look will look like, just like this, the DIY guide. You can go in, and then all of the courses, I've got modules for everything. Learning the basics, submitting your Express Entry profile. Well, in my learning the basics right here, I have something called what the comprehensive ranking system, how it works. And so this system right here, you'll see if I just skim through it, I actually have a breakdown here. I'm going to pause this so that you guys can see this. I've got a breakdown of the points. And you can see I've got French 15, and then CLB with a CLB 5 or higher, 30 points. Well, I have to revamp this. And there's also another section that I have to change that asks now about biometrics. And in your personal history section, it asks if you've ever done biometrics before. But this is the course. This is the one that you guys, I want you to understand, I spent hundreds of hours to create it. And now I get to redo it. Not redo it, but I do need to refreshen it. But understand the substantive lessons, everything in here, everything is 100% accurate and consistent. And the government hasn't made any changes in the last 3 years. So it's been really good. So some of the videos are 4 years old or 3 years old, but the instructions that I give to clients hasn't changed at all. So this here is the next thing that we're working on. Now I want to jump back here, and I'm going to see if I can go back to my Canadian Immigration Institute, just the main page. When you're here, you go to see courses. You guys can check it out. You can go to try for free, and that will allow you to access the first 2 modules. Or you can purchase now. Use that code that I shared. Yes, I've already purchased it, I know. It's my course. So if you type in here, EEDIY 50, and then you complete the purchase. Oh, sorry, I have to apply. You click apply, it drops that fee down to $248.50 US for access to the whole course. All right, so I just wanted to share that with all of you guys because we got the question. And so I don't discount the monthly, but I definitely offer that big 50% discount that I don't advertise everywhere. It's only individuals that are watching these videos that will see it. Okay, let's keep jumping down here. We're doing good. Ralph, big shout out to you, my friend. Great to have you connecting. Okay, and then Clara says, hey, is a job offer letter an essential document for applying for PR? Yep, absolutely it is. 100%. Now, let me qualify this. A reference letter is. The job offer, if you're talking about arranged offers of employment, that gets you those extra 50 points. Well, that isn't mandatory, but I'm assuming that you're probably talking about, do I include the job offer letter with my actual reference letter? And no, if I've got a good reference letter, I don't include my hiring letter or the job offer. I don't do that. It's just redundant. Okay, Philippe, hola, amigo mío, ¿cómo está? Okay, and then Aman is over in Montreal. Aman, yep. Those announcements are definitely in your favor, depending on whether or not you've picked up French while you've been in Quebec. Okay, let's keep zipping down there. Yes, you are in Edmonton, Ralph. Okay, now Camilla, this is something that I can't really speak to because you're talking about the 2-stage process, and there are so many different immigration applications that talk about 2-stage. Okay. Okay, and then Karen, I'm going to highlight Karen, and I'm actually going to give Karen one of these just because there is way more in here that I'm going to be able to cover. So Karen, I recommend that you actually go over and you consider jumping over here and booking that consult. If it's Express Entry related, connect with me, 25-15 minutes, it's available. If not, there's, well, obviously the two, if what you're asking, we'll just flip back here. Yeah, Karen, with all the questions about adding a spouse and all those kinds of things and the timing, it's a lot more complicated than I'm able to answer right here. Hope you understand. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? And I'm trying to go as quickly as I can here. Okay, so my name is Atif, and I have a question. If I have a small question, okay, if I have a master's and I want to go to another master's in entrepreneurship, is it acceptable? Oh, those consultants out there, they are circling around like this opportunities. There's probably been tons of stuff announced now. Okay, I think I know what you're getting at here, okay? And I am actually going to do a separate video on this topic, but why not? We'll shift over and we'll just talk about this. So the key here to the question is entrepreneurship. Well, why would you want to take a master's in, oh, I better undo that. Why would you want to do a second program in entrepreneurship when you already have a master's, because it's not going to add anything more to it? Well, let's go let's go take a look. So I had a meeting last week with the Minister of Immigration in Alberta, Employment and Immigration, and we knew this was coming. So if you look at the NP application streams right here, you will see that there is a new stream for entrepreneurs. In fact, it's for the International Graduate Entrepreneur Stream for the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program. Now, there is other ones that are coming. There's a startup visa one for STEM students in the US. But this is for Canadian international students studying in an Alberta school who want to start and basically create a company or buy into it and become an entrepreneur. And so there are now streams that are being opened for those international graduate entrepreneurs. Now, with that being said, our dear province has now put a massive hold on over 450 occupations so that you can't get a work permit in Alberta. It's brutal. But that's the decision that they made. So this is really what we're talking about as we go through this process. And this is really where the question came in. I believe this is where this question came from. So for me, for the purposes of express entry, if that's what you're doing, it serves no purpose. Unless it somehow just helps to advance your career path, it's a waste of time. If you're looking at being an Alberta student, and remember, Alberta right now, not any other place, you have to have graduated from Alberta school. There is that new program for entrepreneurship. Okay. Okay. All right. So we'll close that one out. And then Marianne says, hey, I want to book a consult. Wonderful. We would be happy to help you. And like I indicated before here, when you go to our site, you can choose exactly whether you want the time, 25, 50 minutes, and then take a look at the lawyer and choose the one that fits your area. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Jumping back here. This is kind of fun flipping back and forth. Okay. Okay, and this is a good one. So 7-star cooking and vlogs. Cool, I'm gonna have to check it out. But I'm gonna give you a little bell here. When it comes to eligibility and whether or not you have options for Canada, you really need to book a consult. All right. Okay, we'll zip through this. I'm gonna try to get through some more. If your question is too big, I'm gonna skip past it to the shorter ones, okay? Okay, let's see here. Okay. And like I said, if your question is too specific, I'm also going to bypass it. Okay. So Niraj has got a spousal sponsorship question here. And hey, we're open for anything. He says, for Outland sponsorship, do I need to be employed? If not employed, what's the minimum funds you need to show in your bank account? Okay. So Niraj, in Canada, yes, definitely need to be here. If you're a permanent resident, if you're a citizen, you don't have to be in Canada. You can actually sponsor your spouse from abroad. And if that's the case, if a Canadian citizen can sponsor a spouse from abroad, then, well, at this stage right now, that citizen may not have a job in Canada. So the answer to your question, it would be cruel if you as a permanent resident were treated differently than a citizen with respect to sponsorship. So technically, no, it's not mandatory that you be employed. If you had $2 million in your bank account and you said, I've got plenty of funds, I'm not currently working, I'm in between jobs, you're not going to get your spousal sponsorship application refused. But you do have to demonstrate an ability to support your spouse when they come to Canada. And so I always, with my clients, want to see that they've got a job, some job lined up, or they've got a substantial amount of savings. And that letter from the employer is a part of your sponsorship documents. And also, they ask for a notice of assessment. So they want to see that you're paying Canadian taxes. And that's the same way for the parental sponsorship as well. Okay, moving through here. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, so tech, I started off, and I'm going to actually encourage you guys to go back. So the question is, hey, can you shed some more light on the French language? I've done that, but I also went into more detail let's just jump back here and see if I can pull it up quick. Those of you who are watching on the YouTube channel, you'll see that we have I'll jump here to my channel right here. Okay, so there's the live one. And then right here, I just did it last night, which is the Express Entry 2020 Great News for French Speakers. Watch that one. All right, that's where you can go, and it'll give a whole lot more detail on what these changes are and how they might impact you. Okay. All right, cruising on. Good question. Okay, let's see. And good afternoon and hello to all you people that are giving shout outs. Okay, and then we've got CRS 470 today. I don't think we've had a round of invitations yet. Let's go take a look and see if it's changed since we've been, well, let's go over here. Let's see if it's changed. So let's see, proof of funds comprehensive. I don't think I had the round of invitations. Let's see if we go back here. I think it was on this page. Yeah. So if we refresh this one, let's see, any changes since we've been talking? Not yet. Still October the 14th. Okay. It's actually kind of fun to just see in real life if we're actually going to get a change. And I didn't start my live Q&As on Wednesday mornings at 10 just for that fun kind of exercise of jumping back and forth to see if the draw has happened. Okay. Okay, and like I said, some of you guys have got some long questions. So I'll just pull this one up here, and this is a very, very long question. And I'd actually encourage you, it's hard to fit it all in. So what's being asked here by Samrat is what's happening for people who are getting their approvals under CEC. So once approved, what are the next steps? Well, if you're approved under CEC, you're a permanent resident. So I'm not quite sure your question here. If your work permit is expired, then can you work in between the time the PR application is approved and you get your COPR PR card? Understand, if you're in Canada, often what you're going to get, my friend, is an email from them that says, voila, you are a permanent resident, congratulations. That's what we're starting to see. So in your situation, you should have, if your work permit is expiring, you should have submitted a bridging open work permit before your work permit expires. If you've got a Canadian Experience Class application and you've submitted your EAPR and your work permit is within 4 months of expiring, you don't need it to expire. And if you want to book a consult, Samrat, I can help you with this, but you can file a bridging open work permit to extend your ability to continue working. So that's how you deal with it. Okay. Let's see here. All right, so let's see what else we've got here as we jump through these. Okay, and someone else here, I'll give you a little ring the bell. So Vimal, anything specific, my friend? It's really legal advice. You'll need to book a consult. Okay. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Yeah, Igor says maybe we should make a separate video on travel history. Ironically, guys, I actually have. And if we go back once again to the website and you go to the YouTube channel, you guys, it's hard to see right here because these are all organized into playlists. But if you go here and you go to videos and then you look, like, guys, I've been doing this for I don't know how long. And so there are so many things here. Like, I've got so many videos. I don't know what the total number is now. It's crazy. But you have the ability to search. And so let's see if we do here, travel, and let's search that and see what comes up. Hey, look at this. So 8 months ago, the secret to completing your travel history correctly. Haha. So search it. Check it out, guys. There's tons of resources here. I forgot about that one. I've done so many. All right. Thank you, Igor. And big shout out to Igor because he has gotten, well, he's on the verge of getting accepted to start his classes at law school to convert over to becoming a Canadian immigration lawyer. Igor has his master's in law and was a lawyer in Ukraine. And he's obviously working closely with me, an integral part of Holthe Immigration Law, past client. And now he's realizing his dream of becoming really becoming a lawyer in Canada. And I'm super excited for him. Okay. Okay, and then Philippe says, hey, does the express entry process times vary depending on each applicant's country of origin? Right now, yes, they do. Yes, they absolutely do. Okay, so Amin says, hey, my spouse got a WES assessment and it's evaluated as a bachelor's degree, 4 years. Can we select professional degree? I would need to look at this a lot more closely, Aman. A law degree may or may not be considered a professional credential. And so it depends on the nature of the actual program. And if they made the decision that it was something less, often it's listed on that. And you're in a real uncertain territory. Absolutely you are. I need to know a whole lot more about that. So I'll have to ring the bell on you and you can and book a consult. We can go through this in detail. Okay. Okay, this is my favorite question. I'm planning to study and apply for PR and to get a study permit. You should prove that you will go back after you finish your studies. Yes, absolutely yes. That forms the whole basis of it. For those of you who have profiles in the queue, who are now looking to apply for a study permit, it is a factor an officer looks at when they decide whether or not to approve it. And if you're older, if there's gaps in age, if there's all those things, Waj, understand that it really can impact negatively on what you're doing. So your main goal with a study permit is to show how that Canadian education is going to benefit you going back to your home country and getting better work. Okay? That's what it's all about. All right, and we got a bunch of people from all over. Tajikistan, we've got Kelowna, BC, Toronto, and I'm not giving you guys all shout outs, but understand I see you. I wish I could pull you guys all in there. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, and M's family sponsorship, everything is ground to a halt. They're starting to move forward, but it's the travel restrictions. It's the social distancing requirements in overseas countries where overseas Canadian consulates and visa offices are not able to have their full complement of workers. All of that is dragging everything on. Okay. Okay, so this one here, I would definitely encourage you, Elijah, to book a consult. It says your profile showed ineligible due to an unknown reason. There's always a reason, always. And before you got your ITA, do I need to select yes where it asks whether I've applied? If you have not obtained a file number because your profile wasn't eligible, it wasn't actually submitted, then no, I don't indicate that as a previous application. Only if your profile was actually submitted and you had an express entry or an E number, that's when I list it. Now, some people even say you don't have to list it until after you get your ITA and you've submitted an electronic application for permanent residence, which is also probably the legally correct answer. But for me, I don't take any chances. And why not? I have no issues telling them that, yeah, I had a different profile and had another express entry number. So no issues with that. Okay. Okay, so Adil says, well, people with an acknowledgement of receipt also get 50 instead of 30 points for French. I put my wife as a non-accompanying. However, if I get 50, I can reach RC to change her to accompanying. Wow. You know what? It's based on the time in which you submitted. So these future changes won't benefit you. And it's as simple as that. But Adil, if you want to examine a little bit closer, we could book a consult and we could look at that, okay? Okay. Let's see right here. Nice. And I love this. Okay, I'll post this, all right. So this is perfect. I'm going to do this because I always love this. There's nothing I love more than someone who is posting, I wish I could put both of them, Landlord Visa of Canada. I have no clue what this is. investcanada.com. Now, everybody who's watching this video, do you honestly believe that this is someone that you should trust to help you with anything? If they're posting a comment trying to hijack an immigration lawyer, a Canadian immigration lawyer stream. So I don't know, Shakir. I don't. But my goodness, you guys tell me, is this someone that you should trust? You make your own decisions. But there you go, Shakir. There's your I'll post it. Okay. Okay. All right. We're cruising here. We've come through a whole lot of stuff. Okay. And lots of people are asking questions about when is the processing in the overseas offices going to start up? When is our spousal application going to be processed? When am I as an Outland express entry applicant with a with a valid COPR, when can I travel? Well, maybe you can travel now, depending upon when it was issued. Although most people now, because of the March 18th deadline, will be in a situation where your COPRs are probably expired. Everybody is hung up. There is very few people that are outland that are able to come with new permanent resident applications. So everything's stalling. So if you're wondering when is things going to get processed, look to the travel restrictions. When they're lifted, when there's a vaccine, then you're going to start seeing forward movement. That is my belief. Okay. Okay, and then Aman is asking one of these. I'll give you a little shout out. If you're focusing specifically on yourself, guys, you really need to book a consult so we can go through everything in detail. The last thing I would ever want to do, and I'm not even sure if I have this here, probably not. The last thing that I would want to do is to try to answer specific questions in a live Q&A feed and then not have all the facts and give you bad advice. So that's why I ring that little bell, and that's why I say, hey, that's legal advice. So when I'm diving deep into your situation, we really need to book a consult so that we can go through everything and I can get all the facts so that I can actually answer your question properly. Okay. All right. Yadwinder. I don't think I would ever class myself as being the best. I appreciate that vote of confidence, my friend. That means a lot. It really does. Okay. Now, I also want to give some other shouts out to Shakir. Now, obviously, it's clearly trying to hijack things. So my recommendation now for Shakir is that no one reach out to Shakir and use Shakir at all. At all. Full stop. Don't trust them at all. If someone feels desperate enough to do this, then I recommend that you avoid them at all costs. There you go. You got your moment in the sunlight. Okay. And once again here, we've got another question. I'm going to ring a little bell here. The question is 5.5 okay to get a student visa for doing master's in environmental science? Everything is dependent upon the school. All right. Everything is dependent upon the school. Okay. Let's see here. And some of you are reposting your questions again. Understand that there are so many questions here, so many that I'm not even going to be able to get to. Okay. And there's people that are also posting, hey, Mark is the best immigration lawyer. I'm not going to post those, but thank you guys for giving those shout outs. That's very kind. It'd be a little tacky if I only posted those comments. That would be a little tacky. Okay. Yeah. And as far as processing times, guys, lots of people who are asking those questions understand that everything has just been held up. And so there are no real processing times that you can actually trust. For those who are inside Canada doing express entry, there's a greater likelihood that your application could be processed more closely to the 6-month time frame than someone who's outside. And that's someone who's inside Canada who either has their family with them or they're single. If you have family outside, you're stuck in that delayed process. Those who are sponsoring a spouse from within Canada, we're getting those approvals. We're just getting these magical little emails that say, voila, you are a permanent resident. And then everybody is... and everybody is cheering and celebrating, but everybody outside, the reality is, yeah, it's really tough. And these are just delays because of the pandemic. Okay. All right. Moving back and forth here. Let's see here. Okay, so here's a question. Kartik says, is flagpoling still an option for getting a post-grad work permit, or is it closed for now because of the pandemic? Every port of entry is treating this differently. Some will slam and hammer you, and they will refuse to do it. Others could very well issue it. There is no legal barrier. You know, there's no legal ground that the CBSA has to refuse you. But my goodness, they can be very, very creative. I don't send my clients down. In fact, I had someone who was transitioning to an LMIA-based work permit who now had to go home because their consultant advised them to go down to Coots, and Coots made their life miserable, figured out some reason to refuse, and oh, they were creative. And yes, I could have challenged in court, but it didn't help the person then. And so their dream of staying in Canada was gone. So I personally, during the pandemic, don't trust flagpoling at all. I try to avoid it. Okay, here's an interesting question. I work for 3 companies. Is the visa officer going to contact all 3 employers? They rarely contact them at all, only if they feel like there's a real need to do it. And so, false alarm, sneezing. It's rare. There it is. It's rare that they're actually going to reach out and contact, but you have to be prepared. It's a possibility. And that's why they ask for the contact information of the supervisor in case they want to do that. Okay. How do you prove pay via cash? How do you do it? The reality is, like I said, proving it, the reference letter is the only real mandatory document. Then it asks for pay slips if available. So pay slips are one way to do it. Did you pay taxes on that income? And that's all of the issues that come into play. The onus is on you to prove that you were actually working and being paid for it. And if you received cash, yeah, it's not easy, but it isn't mandatory to submit proof that you were paid. The reference letter as a source document is enough, but then it comes into whether or not they actually believe the company existed or you did the work and their ability to verify it. Okay. All right. And there's other people asking about, is there any updates on study permit processing, spouses, all those kinds of things. I'm just bypassing you guys because there really isn't. We're in a wait and see period. We don't really know what's happening with immigration. And so many of you are in that same position, and I'm really sorry about it. Okay. And for those who are jumping in late, remember right here that just yesterday, Marco Mendicino, the Minister of Immigration, announced those changes to express entry that now allow for more points for Francophone speaking applicants, or I keep saying Francophone, French speaking applicants who have at least a Canadian language benchmark level 7 plus at least a level 4 or 5 in English. All right. Okay. And we are just about through here. We're just about to the end. One last little bit of advice I want to share with you guys once again is just the simple fact that we are going to be making some changes going forward. Many of you were not able to get your question answered right now, but in our resource section right here on our firm website, we're going to be creating a little button. So you have to come here back frequently to watch, and this is where you'll be able to post your question if the question was not covered in the live stream, or if you're not able to watch the live stream but still have a question that is of general importance to everyone. And the best questions are going to be selected, and I will answer those periodically throughout this live Q&A. Once again, as we talked about everything before, remember that we have, and I'm actually just going to show you guys this. The DIY course is awesome. And if you type in the EE DIY 50, you can get 50% off of that. I'm in the midst of updating and revising the course, and it's going to take a little bit of time. The only two things that are, I guess, outdated, although I've already addressed it in those particular videos, is the fact that French now has moved from getting from 15 points to 25, and from getting 30 points to 50 points, depending upon the level of English and French that you have. So that's one change. And then the one video has a little bit of biometrics information where it asks, have you done it before? And if you have completed your biometrics before, sometimes they're willing to waive it for permanent resident processes. All right. Wow. So we had a great live Q&A today. Watch the videos. They're going to start coming out. I keep saying this, but now I think I've got a little bit more comfort with our live stream now. It doesn't seem like there's as many issues. I had to completely restart my computer and everything and reformat it. And it seems like it's working great. So I'm back on track. I'm super excited. I want to express sincere thanks to everybody who posted questions. We got through a ton today. We really did. And I want to thank all of you for your part in this amazing journey. So this is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, signing off, wishing you guys all the best as you navigate this crazy world that we call Canadian immigration. See you later.